Yo YouTube, this is my video for Friday the 4th of July. I've got a few bits and pieces to deal with, but first of all let me tell you where I'm going at the moment. I am driving the half an hour, about 15 miles, to go to Peterborough to pick up a small van job, and then I'm going to Leicester. It's 54 loaded miles. I'm getting £50 for it, 50. And that's a nice little start to my day at least. It's not a start to the day. The day is pretty much half done at the moment. I'll come to that in a bit. I put a bid on about 4 jobs when I was ready, and this is the first one that came through. And I was reasonably optimistic that I would get a job because it's a Friday, and I do think Fridays are a lot busier than the other days of the week, usually. So I'm optimistic about today. Now, a couple of points. This morning I didn't really wake up until 9:30. Wasn't really ready to look at CX until 10:30. So pretty much I missed, a good 2-3 hours of opportunities to get a job, which is not insignificant, but I'm hoping it won't make a big difference to my day. And the reason why I was late getting up is that I had a pretty bad night with my PD machine, in that it kept alarming. As it was draining down, it kept alarming and waking me up, and I had to get up and deal with it. So this morning I was in no fit state to jump out of bed early, so I just thought I'd stay in bed until I felt I could cope with the world, and that was 9:30. So next point I want to raise is, yesterday I became aware of another YouTube channel. It's Paul Glibbery Transport, and he does shorter style videos talking about his day. And the 2 things that I would say are significant to point out that I would recommend, he's very much talking about the actual real world earning potential of doing his job, so you can see exactly where he has gone, how much he's earned, the pros and cons of doing work purely off the CX. And the second thing of note is he's got a very innovative videographic style, which I would recommend. So yeah, well done, and hope you all subscribe to Paul's channel. I'm sure that'll be really useful, particularly I think if you're trying to work out what does CX pay. He's based on the east coast of Essex, which is a reasonably unusual area to be based, so that's quite a good perspective. And I think it's really useful if you're thinking about doing coming to CX as to what the current state of the earning potential is like, particularly in that area of the country. So yeah, next point. This morning I weighed myself, and I was only 1 kilogram away from my target for my back operation, which was very nice to see. And so I did this morning call the secretary of the consultant, sort of try and get the process restarted, and unfortunately she's off until the 21st of July, so I've had to diarise in 2 weeks' time to give her a call back. So it's not the end of the world, but it does make it a bit frustrating that I've got to wait 2 weeks just to make contact. And who knows, when I do that, maybe she'll be busy catching up with work. So that's imminent. What's imminent is me contacting the consultant again to try and get back on the roster. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that will happen. I don't think there's anything else to talk about. My expectation for today is positive. I'm going to try to get a few jobs in. Ideally, I want a long job from Leicester somewhere, but I'll be happy enough just doing little jobs around and ending up home, earlier. We'll have to see what it's like in Leicester when I get there. I should be there at around about 1 o'clock-ish, 1:15, and I just need to sort of get a chivvy on and make sure I don't hang around too long without a job. Right, I'll let you know how it goes. Cheers! Okay, so the reason I put that video on is this red car in front of me is going quite slowly. It's going between 40 and 50 miles an hour on the 60 mile an hour road. There's a lorry that's pulled out in front of it, which is now going away from it, and it keeps kind of mildly swerving from left to right. Look, it's nearly touching the left hand line now, and now it'll go out and nearly touch the middle lane. So I can't work out if they're drunk or if they're just really experienced. It looks like there's more than one person in the car, but they're clearly not very. Look at that, they've nearly crossed the middle lane. I'm going to guess that they're drunk. It is 12:20 on a Friday afternoon. There may be someone in the back of that car as well, so there's definitely a passenger. So look at that, right next to the middle line now. We're going at 45 miles an hour at the moment. I'll just let you watch it. You decide what you think. They've put the brakes on now for some reason. They've gone to the left hand side of the lane. There's something going on. And I'm going at 40 and they're braking. They're braking at 50. I mean, it's possible they're just really inexperienced drivers. Because it's a small car. Maybe it's just someone who's elderly, maybe? I mean, it just feels like really bad driving. They might be crossing the line here. Quite. So that lorry that came out in front of them, as I started the video, is well miles away now. So we're going at 35 miles an hour at the moment. Go down the gear. LV68UBP Red Corsa. I'm not going to get too close to them because obviously that might make them nervous. But look at that. Well, they've just touched the left-hand white line. We're going at 45 miles an hour at the moment. If I saw a policeman now, I would tell them to go and find out what's going on. That's what I'm concerned about. Because I think it looks, behaviour is like someone's been drinking. Actually crossed the middle line now. Hi YouTube, it is nearly 2:10 now and I'm on my way to my second job. It really does feel like it's walking through treacle today doing this job. It's a combination of me starting late, being a bit tired, it being hot, and mainly down to my phone signal being really bad in this area. And I've managed to achieve a second job. It's a little job going from 5 miles away, LE19, small van job. It's going to Silverstone Toaster. 45 loaded miles. I'm getting £50 for it, 50, which puts me on the grand total of £100 gross when I've done this job. They won't be ready for me to pick up this job until about 2:30 at the earliest. So although I'm on my way, I'm going to be there in about 10 minutes. I'm going to have to wait for about 10, 15, 20 minutes before I get loaded. And Silverstone's about an hour away, so roughly speaking, 3:45 be when I finish this job. So I might get one little job. Well, I should get one little job from Toaster, heading somewhere, perhaps towards Nottingham area. But it's going to be a really poor paying day today, unless I go for something really long distance, end up miles away from home. Which I'm not discounting at this point, but it doesn't feel very appealing at the moment. So I was kind of stuck when I dropped off my first delivery because I had no phone signal, and it was really frustrating trying to look for a second job, trying to get rid of jobs that I couldn't do. I can't do a job on Monday because I've got my van being serviced and repaired, so I had to get rid of everything that was Monday. But when I was deleting stuff, it was taking sort of 5 seconds to delete, and it was so frustrating. So I have to move myself from my original point down the road to try and get better signal. All the time I was thinking I'm missing out on jobs. Got myself to a housing estate, which was a bit better signal. Started again. It sort of started off being okay and then slowed up again, to the point I thought I might have a phone signal issue. So I moved another 2 miles down the road into the country, and then it was better, it was working fine. It was at that point that I managed to get this second job. Yeah, but it's just really not pleasant at the moment. I mean, nothing tangible that I can say has gone wrong. It's just little niggly things that are going wrong. You know, I'm going to end up having quite a poor paying day today for a variety of reasons. So £100 when I get to Toaster at 3:45 is going to feel not very motivating, let's put it that way. But I've got to keep going. I probably should think about this as being a weekly amount. So what I'll probably do is, once I get to Toaster, I'll probably try and see how much I've earned for the week, and see if it gives me any sort of reason to be more cheerful. And then maybe I'll do a big job just to sort of make up the week. So we'll see what we get on. But at the moment I'm about 5 minutes away from a pickup. When I get there, I'm going to let them know I'm there, and then I'm going to wait till they're ready. Right, I hope you're doing better today. Cheers. Right, YouTube, so I've delivered my second job of the day to Silverstone. It was pretty awkward because the British Grand Prix is on this weekend. So very busy, very hectic, and eventually, because I had the number of the person who was taking delivery, eventually got it offloaded outside the gate I wasn't allowed into, and they just handballed it through the gates where they had the pass. So all done, a bit stressful. I'm trying to find a job that's heading somewhere towards where I live. There is the odd job going sort of across country towards Chipping Norton or Milton Keynes or London. There's a few jobs to go to London. I just cannot face doing those today. So I'm 2 hours away from home, 75 miles. I'm currently just driving back past Toaster. and I'm heading north towards Northampton. Hopefully, although I'm not expecting there to be a job for me tonight, and my task tonight, or this afternoon, is to try and find some positivity in the stats for this week. So I haven't done the figures yet, but I'm going to have to work them out for the week and see whether I can gloss them over at all to be positive. It's the first week I've done 5 days work. It doesn't feel like I've had 5 good days. I remember at the start of the week saying I wasn't going to focus on the money, I was going to focus on how it felt to be out on the road. But I can't help it. Money's important to me. So let me get a bit further close to home, make sure there's no third job available, and then I'll present the daily and weekly figures. Right then, I'm back with my figures for the day and for the week, and I think I've managed to find a positive story to tell about the weekly figures, but not the daily ones. The daily ones are pretty bad. So for today, I'm basing my stats on an average fuel price of 14.86 pence per mile. I have driven today a total of 201 miles, 201. I've worked 7.25 hours today, and I've earned the grand total of £100 gross from 2 CX jobs. I've spent £29.87 on fuel, so let's make that £30, which means that for today my net earnings after fuel come to £70, 70, which are quite poor, I would admit. Now this week I haven't actually worked 5 full days, but I have been at work each of the 5 days. So I'm basing my average figures on 5 days work, despite it not being full days. And I've worked a total this week of 32.5 hours. And I've driven a total number of miles of 1189. I've managed to cobble together £935 gross, 935, which I'm quite pleased with that actually. It didn't feel like it was quite doing that well. I've spent £172 on fuel, 172, which means that my net earnings this week, after taking into account fuel, come to £763, 763. My pence earned per mile driven for every single mile that I've driven this week comes to 64.20, which is a bit better than my average. And if you were to divide the 763 net figure by 5 days, then it's an average daily net figure of £153, 153. And then this next figure is brand new, but I think it's worthy of inclusion. Because I know that my business costs, my fixed business costs, are £315 a week, 315. If I take that figure off my net earnings, I'm left with an actual income this week of £448. Now that's much better than when I've worked 3 days, and this is the key difference. I can have 5 mediocre days and still make quite a lot more money than 3 great days, because the first £315 of my earnings gets notionally taken off for my business business costs. Before, when I was working 3 days, I would regard £200 a day on average net as being a good day. So £600 for the week. If you take off £315 from that, you're left with £285. So basically, despite this week being mediocre, I would say, I've made about £165 more than a good 3-day week. And that's what I'm holding on to. That was the whole point of me getting back to 5-day working, that I should be able to find it easier to make a little bit more money and just make it easier to sort of earn a living wage. So if you think about £448 income, if I did that every week for a month, that's pretty much almost £2,000 income, which I can definitely live off. So, positive news, I'm going to cling to that, despite today being pretty bad. Maybe even very bad today. Okay, so I hope that all makes sense. I shall be back to work hopefully Tuesday afternoon, if not Wednesday. My van is going in for a repair, which will be getting a new drive shaft and a service on Monday. Then I've got my usual appointments on Tuesday morning, and hopefully I'll get my van back on Tuesday, but failing that, I'm sure I'll be back for Wednesday. So, thank you very much for listening to my video. I hope that you are all being successful. Have you choose to define that word for yourselves? And I shall see you next week. Farewell, friends.